So what are some of the issues that the incoming president of Liberia has to tackle? And in your opinion, is George Weah up to the task?
Well, I like the fairy tale of rags to riches, ex-footballer becoming president, but that's as far as, my optimism goes. His limited education and, very short stint in politics, was senator for, less than 3 years, from 2014 up until now. I don't think prepares him sufficiently for the, to lead a country like Liberia, which is probably the fourth poorest country in the world. I mean, it ranks 177 out of 180 countries on the UNHCR index. It's a formidable task. It's also a post-conflict. It's going to take decades for Liberia to emerge from the ravages of the civil war. I wish him well. I want him to succeed. But the evidence, is. The best you can be is cautiously optimistic. But the good thing for him is he seems to be incredibly popular. Now, what that does for you as president is, it makes it easier for you to mobilize, the citizenry around a common, agenda. And if he finds the capacity somewhere to, implement policies that will be designed for him by well-wishers and, maybe people in his cabinet, yes, but otherwise, not after somebody from the World Bank, has not succeeded very well.
So looking at the tenure of the outgoing president of Liberia, that's Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, how would you rate her presidency and what would you see as some of her legacies?
Well, I think we should give her kudos, for stabilizing a post-conflict society. There were 2 civil wars, 250,000 people dead, and for her to restore, stability and peace and security is not a mean achievement by any means. And that was why she won the Nobel Peace Prize. The other thing, that she succeeded brilliantly at was empowering women. Brought about 16% of the legislature, occupied by women and all of that, These affirmative action to empower women is all credible. But in terms of, economic development and social, welfare provisioning, she is deemed to be, a failure.
But is it possible that George Weah can correct her mistakes?
Well, I hope so. It's easy to pontificate here, but it's going to, my heart says yes, but if I look at it critically and look at it's going to be a daunting task. It's going to be, because infrastructure, education, health, and jobs, plus, I think there's incredible goodwill for Liberia, by the international community and Africa. So it depends on how well he harnesses, all of these, that will, I think, go a long way to say how well he succeeds.
Looking back at Ms. Sirleaf's presidency in Liberia, do you expect more female presidents to arise on the continent? Maybe Nigeria?
It would be nice to, but Nigeria is a difficult political terrain, especially if you're a woman. 2019 is our next elections. We don't see any woman even in the shadows, Maybe Mama Jibrila will come back, we don't know, But we not even a sniff, of any female aspirant, it's the same old names, that have been circulated. I would like to see a woman president in Nigeria and, several more in Africa. But, structurally women are, at a disadvantage, in climes like Africa.
Why?
Well, it's the dogma, it's a man's world, it still is, in Africa especially. I think because of the cultural inhibitions women have, to be housekeepers, homemakers, and then the very poor image of politics, dirty game, and all of those things. And then, there are a lot of, shenanigans going on in politics when you do meetings at late, wee hours of the night and all of those things. And then you need a lot of financial muscle, So I think all of that, all of those, discriminate against women emerging in politics in Africa and in Nigeria.
Now, back to Liberian politics. President Sirleaf has overseen a reign of uninterrupted peace in a country that has been ravaged by 2 civil wars. Now, how easy will it be for George Weah to sustain this peace?
It should. I think the difficult work has been done in since 2005, when 2006 really, when Miss Ellen Johnson Sirleaf took over. So I think it's easier to build on what she has started, and with him having 60% of the rerun votes, that would suggest that he has a majority of the people, backing him. Although the turnouts, in the elections were very poor. So 60% that he has is not 60% of the population. But I think he's incredibly popular. And with the array of, elites, backing him, his camp and all of that, I think, yes, I expect him to sustain that pace. And I don't expect and I don't pray, that Liberia relapses into another civil war. Fortunately, these elections, when the whole hog, reruns, litigations up to the Supreme Court, and now we have a win and everybody's happy. So I don't foresee any, relapse in security and peace in Liberia.
Finally, are there any lessons for Nigeria to learn from the elections in Liberia?
Yeah, I mean, you look back at 2005, I remember that first election, it was very atrocious. Acrimony between Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and Mr. Ware. People were saying he was not educated, he has zero political but the man picked himself up, went back to school, got a degree, I think, in the US, in business, and he never gave up. Now we have 2017, and you have George Ware working together with Ellen Sirleaf against politics. Should be issue driven. It's not personal. There is no justification for politics to degenerate into, violence or,
do or die.
Exactly. That's the word. So I think that's something we can borrow from that experience. And I wish Liberia very well.
Still to come on Diplomatic Channel, we'll take a look at how Nigeria fared on the international scene in 2017. Please stay with us.